When I was 15, I was at a local restaurant in Auburn, and I was having a conversation with my friend who was the same age as me. And they overheard us talking about money and how important my son was to me. And they approached us, it was two men, they approached us and said, "Hey, we overheard you talking about needing to make some money, and would you be interested in something we have to offer you?" So we literally both looked at each other and shrugged and said, "Sure." So they said, "Go to this apartment the next day, this brown apartment building in Auburn, and meet us there." So we did, and that was the trap. They forced us to do things, and they told us that if we told anybody, that they would have my son taken away from me. Because they knew how important he was to me. That was all that they needed to say to me.
One of the common perceptions of sex trafficking that's starting to change, but it's still here, is that sex trafficking is something that happens somewhere else, and that sex trafficking involves people coming in from another country into our country. And what we are seeing is that that is not the case. That's certainly happening, but we are seeing that it happens, to people from Maine, sometimes, done by people from Maine as well.
It's not necessarily being in handcuffs or in chains. A victim could find themselves needing a place to stay, or down on their luck and not having any money.
Particularly young people come to Bangor or any other larger city as runaways or possibly what they call throwaways. Statistically, across the country, and it's no different for us, the average is within 24 to 48 hours before they are actually being trafficked.
And now if you want a roof over your head in the winter in Maine, you're now providing sex acts. And we have had these types of cases in Maine, in this area.
I had a very rough childhood from the beginning. I was drowned as a baby. Somebody tried to drown me as a baby, and then my mom took my brother and I and moved us away from everybody that we knew, and my brother took care of me. He's only 4 years older than me, because my mom had to work. And in that time I was sexually abused, and I might have been sexually abused before that, but family secrets, I don't really know.
Young people can be very vulnerable, especially if they have already experienced trauma in their past. A lot of the people who I've worked with had experienced childhood sexual abuse.
I was in and out of foster care. My mother kissed and hugged us and loved us, but she kicked and punched and spit on us too. My older brothers abused us. I don't have a clear memory, but physically abused us, yes, and they were just odd. Not necessarily do these pimps and perpetrators kind of groom us. It's like some of us are so harmed by our parents or our caregivers and how we grow up that we're just primed for it. We don't know it, but it's like we're just the perfect target. They don't have to do anything. They say jump and we jump.
Most women that we have contact with have been sexually assaulted, and due to their grooming have become drug addicts. Pimps will use drugs to control them, along with threats and physical assaults and sexual assaults. I've never met any woman who likes doing this.
Domestic violence and sex trafficking overlap tremendously. They're usually in an intimate partner relationship with their trafficker or their exploiter, or had been at some point. So there's many times that they've been referred to domestic violence agencies and shelters. And that's true throughout the entire state. I mean, we've sheltered people from York to Presque Isle.
We have clients that range from under 18 to close to 60 years old. So we have seen quite a wide range. There was a study done recently that shows that it's happening most predominantly with women in their low to mid-20s. Oftentimes what happens, though, is when we identify those victims who are in their 20s, we hear that this has been happening for many years. So we are not necessarily finding victims until they've been in this life for a few years, which means that it started when they were much younger, when they were teenagers.
It can happen to people that are highly educated and very often professional and well paid. So often people say, well, you know, I don't have this or I can't do that, and maybe this is all I deserve.
And we go to this party, it's all grown-ups, it's adults. I'm 12 years old. I end up flirting with this man called Sam. He invited me to go to his house to have breakfast, and I said yes. I willingly left with him. I don't know how long it took, 5 minutes, 1 hour, half hour, whatever, 2 seconds. He said, take your clothes off and get in the bed, and I did it. And he drags me down the hall and gives me to this guy named Red. So Red was a pimp. And there's so much behind just telling that much of it, but I'll keep telling more, but that a kid can find himself in that kind of predicament. You know, that's not the average thing that can happen to a kid, but it's really easy to happen to a kid. It was so easy.